The best in poker news, entertainment, and more. This is the Mark Hoke Show.
All right, everybody, how are we doing today? I hope you're doing better than me because I caught me a cold. So I'm trying to keep everybody quiet and happy. The whole house is sick. We're really enjoying ourselves here. And so I'm trying to get through the show today. I had to take an hour off of it because honestly, I don't think I would have made it through it. So, but we do have a great one coming up for you, as Rich Muni is going to be on the line pretty soon. We're going to talk to the Vice President of Player Relations for the Poker Players Alliance, joining us here on the show to sorry about that, to talk to us a little bit about what's going on with the we got a big hearing coming up, and Sheldon Adelson, all sorts of fun stuff happening there. So we're going to talk to Rich Muni in a little while. Plus, Patricia Cardner is going to be joining us, the co-author of Positive Poker. This is an outstanding book. I got a copy of it myself, and wow, it's really some groundbreaking information. Positive Poker, a modern psychological approach to mastering your mental game, is available on dandbpoker.com. And, of course, she co-authored that with Jonathan Little. So we would like to sorry, I got a serious frog in my throat right now. Sorry about that. But make sure you check that out at dmbpoker.com. Jonathan Little co-authoring this book, and certainly going to be a one for everybody to enjoy. And I think you're going to love hearing from Dr. Cardner, and she'll be on the show in just a little bit. All right. So we have, of course, a lot going on the show as well with the Altel Poker Tables Tournament Series coming up here tonight. Event number 3 is going to be rolling out, and we are going to be giving away a brand new poker table. We have the standings up on the Mark Hoke Show Facebook page, so make sure you head on over to that. Get in there. Of course, Shum Cooley with a win and a second place to kick things off. Not a bad start for Shum Cooley, as trying to earn a spot in that championship game. And I see we've got a couple new players joining us in there as well already. So we want to wish everybody the best luck. It is a horse tournament tonight, a turbo horse tournament, so it should be a lot of fun. So make sure you join us for get in there. Club ID is 629454. Password is LockItUp1. And if you're not logged in to our Ustream chat, even if you're listening to us on Facebook or wherever, so many different places to listen to the show is ridiculous now. Get in there and get a Ustream name real quick at ustream.tv. Sign in and get in the chat box, and we will have you, be able to interact with the show, ask questions, all sorts of fun stuff there. Okay, I'll tell you, I do apologize, man. I'll tell you what, this cold, it hit me a little while ago, or early this morning, or about 1 in the morning, and I just woke up and was like, oh my God, this is not good. So it's one of those things I had to call off work today and everything. And, I don't know what it is, but the kids go to daycare, and any of us that are parents out there know that when the kids go to daycare, it's always a risk. And, there were 2 new kids that came to the daycare. So guess what? The cold shows up in a hurry. So dealing with that today, but looking forward to trying to bring you the best show that I can. Of course, if you haven't gone to, starting downloaded our shows, let's go to the Mark Hoke Show on Podbean or on iTunes. Everything's up there. And, of course, also now available on Rounders Radio and Luckbox Gaming. So make sure you subscribe to our podcasts. Of course, we have the shows here on Roguewire and the shows on KLAV up on there. And, of course, also if you're hanging around on Poker News, you can join us there as well. You'll see the under the podcast category. They are in there, so make sure you check that out too. Oh, man. There was one good thing about being sick today. Just one. I got to watch a little football for the first time all season. Because usually I'm working early in the morning on Sundays, right? At least for now. And coming home, and you're pretty tired. It's like, I don't really care. So I got to see the Snow Bowl for the Eagles game today. Which, what a performance by the Philadelphia Eagles. I enjoyed that one. That was pretty impressive. What a comeback by Philly. And God, if they hadn't, I guess you could say they got the 2 touchdowns on the special teams, Detroit did. But then they also had the 2 fumbles deep in Eagle territory. So we're just going to call that a wash and say the Eagles beat the hell out of them in the second half of the game. It was pretty cool. So pretty impressive game there, and all sorts of crazy things. The New England game today, the Baltimore game. Been a wild NFL game right now. We got the Niners taking on the Seahawks, and it's still 16-14 Niners. The Seahawks putting together a drive, and I'm really rooting for the Seahawks now, kids. The Eagles are contending for a wild card. I would have never thought that, but pretty cool stuff going on today in the NFL, and looking for a Dallas loss tonight, too. That would be kind of nice. All right, Poker World happenings, and there has been a lot, of course. So once again, we have that. We'll see if it means anything, but we do have that online poker hearing coming up in Congress very shortly. But apparently the state of Pennsylvania is also getting in on the act. They're going to start doing some investigating. And, of course, Sheldon Adelson's little battle. So we're going to talk to Rich about all that here in just a minute or two. But otherwise, been fairly quiet. Of course, the WPT Doyle Brunson event is going on right now. So we're getting ready to see how that plays out. Yeah, listen, Casino Examiner. Yeah, sorry, buddy. I apologize, but that's how it goes. All right. And before we get into bringing Rich Muni on the show, of course, we want to thank all the great sponsors of the show. And Zion, you better get to work on this one because we need to start selling some stuff. All right? So we need people to hop in there and start buying our products from our sponsors because that's how the show stays on the air. So make sure you take advantage of these great discounts and the opportunities that you have. First, our good friends at Final9Comic.com. Get in there and Final9Comic, the number 9comic.com. Download the first issue. You're going to really enjoy it. And, of course, the second issue coming out very shortly. So make sure you're in on the action there. All you have to do is give an email address to get a free preview there. So go to Final9Comic.com. Also, of course, our good friends at Blind Squirrel Apparel. It's 20% off with the code Hoke, Hoke. So make sure you go to blindsquirrelapparel.com. Take advantage of that. We also have our good friends at 3Bet Clothing. They've got a great deal for you, 15% off with the code radio. So you can pick up some 3Bet stuff there. Of course, good friend Doug Hall, Poker Plays You Can Use. You guys got to start buying that book. I'm telling you, you're going to make a ton of money off of that. Go to 3Barrel Bluff. That's spelled out, 3barrelbluff.com. And pick up your copy of Poker Plays You Can Use. You put in the code KLAV. That's, of course, our radio show home. And you're going to get 25% off the book. So make sure you do that today as well. So some great stuff out there. And, of course, other great friends like Off Tilt Poker Tables, Team Poker Joker. You can become a member of Team Poker Joker there. That's pretty cool. So make sure you check that out, Team Poker Joker. And, of course, BlueRail.net. We are powered by them. Make sure if you need any website work done, go to BlueRail.net and get a free consultation with our good buddy Bob Lusk right now. Yeah, baby. All right. So without any further ado, let us say hi to the Vice President of Player Relations for the Poker Players Alliance. He is Rich Muni. Welcoming him back to the show, first time in a while, since we've been out in Vegas. So let's give Rich a call and say hi to him. Rich, how are you, my friend?
Good, Mark. How are you?
Oh, I'm peachy, man.
Terrific.
Hey,
Hope you're feeling all right.
I'll live. It
Yeah.
happens. You know
Oh,
how
I
it
know
is.
you
The
will.
kids bring home the colds.
That's right.
Never a good thing. So, well, Rich, so much has been happening since the last time we talked to you, but of course, some major things going on this week. We've got hopefully a hearing in Congress that is actually going to mean something. What's going on with that?
Well, this is an interesting one. It's definitely going to mean something because it's being forced by opposition. I mean, Sheldon Adelson drove the hearing on this. I guess he's hoping somebody will wish to ban online poker, but he doesn't seem to be getting that consensus going. But he's going to force a hearing and try to bring up his points, and I think he's, hoping he generates some noise out of it.
So this,
But
so yeah,
but
that,
basically, let me give you a little rundown of what's going on because it's really interesting. First, Sheldon threw some money around, and he hoped he would just get people on board because they depend on money for their reelection campaigns, and then he could buy a ban on this, just like he buys a lot of things from Congress. If that's not too blunt, at least it's true.
fair enough.
Uh, uh, but from there, he went to Congress and he did get the hearing going. He's able to reach out to some lawmakers, and they wanted to talk about this anyway, so he's able to generate it. But our hope is that he falls on his face, and kind of ends up with a Pyrrhic victory there by getting it, but then losing because we have John Pappas on tap to testify on behalf of poker players, and then AGA has somebody there as well. And our understanding, of course, is that a lot of lawmakers aren't really crazy about online poker, but they do. Many believe in states' rights, and it's not topping their agenda to, you know, shut down New Jersey's games and Nevada's games. So I think it's going to be a really interesting hearing. We're going to certainly see some people go up there and speak out harshly against our game, but we're going to have a lot of positive discussion as well.
Well, it sounds to me like this is I mean, given what's been going on in Congress, it sounds to me that this is going to be everybody's going to get to present their sides again, and it's interesting that it's going to go the other way now that you're probably not going to get a lot of action going the other way either, because I don't think there's enough support in Congress to shut everything down either. So it's kind of like this is just going to be another, okay, let's make sure that nobody looks bad in this thing as best as possible, and hang on and hopefully present your case in a public forum and see what happens.
That's what we're kind of hoping because this fight has moved out of Congress. It did way back when the DOJ determined, with a lot of help from PPA and poker players, sharing their thoughts on this, that online poker would not violate the Wire Act. It would be restricted to sports betting. And from that day, it's really transitioned to the states. I mean, even if a federal bill passes, the states would typically either have to opt in or at least they'd have the option to opt out. It would be good because we'd instantly get interstate play, which is really what we all want. It's going to take longer going state by state, so it would be nice. But the fight has, I mean, from that day, and now we have a few states going forward. Right now, if I were trying to get online poker and tennis in Pennsylvania, for example, your former state, and the one that really looks like they're really taking a really solid look at this, I wouldn't be lobbying in D.C.
Right.
I'd be lobbying in the Capitol in Pennsylvania. I'd be out there trying to, going to them, and that's where we are for that very reason. I mean, Congress is still good to get going, but so my hope is it goes there, we have a good hearing, or at least enough to convince Congress that, a ban is not going through Capitol Hill. I think that'll really start helping pull some stakeholders together and have some of these more reluctant states understanding more that, hey, this is going to happen one day. If it's not today, it's going to be tomorrow. We may want to, get in on this because, as I said, New Jersey's up and running and having they're having some issues with geo-verification, not from a negative in terms of law enforcement. Nobody's been able to play outside of New Jersey, but as far as I know, but it's been tough on some of the New Jersey players just because it's so rigorous. But with this, hopefully it might just really convince Congress that there is not a ban likely to go through Capitol Hill. Hopefully that's going to happen, and it's possible it could go the other way, but it's not shaping up that way right now.
Well, and the situation in Pennsylvania is very interesting too, because I think that the Pennsylvania lawmakers learned something with what took place in terms of when they started getting table games and the impact that it's had on the state, and what really took place in terms of how badly it hurt New Jersey and the business that it took away from them. And I think they've got to be seeing dollar signs again here, which with online gaming opening up in New Jersey, now Pennsylvania says, well, if they're doing it, we have to do it. And really, I think if Pennsylvania does get involved in this, it's going to be hard to stop this from really happening. And eventually the feds are going to have to take some action and have some compacts take place or something, because there's not going to be any choice.
Yeah, that's the way it seems to, many of us, of course, definitely California and Pennsylvania, one or the other, certainly both, were to go forward, we would certainly see a big impact. And it would be pretty tough for Congress to come in at that point and somehow pass a law saying, oh no, we're going to supersede your right to offer these games. And, I don't think they're going to go that PASPA route again, the professional and amateur, that sports betting act that grandfathered in the states that already had some licensing or some legalization of betting on those games. But then restricting it in the other games, I don't think they're going to want to repeat that disaster.
Right.
So, which is good for us, because we wouldn't want to see a situation where they just say New Jersey's okay forever, but Wisconsin can never even contemplate such a thing. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback on that from a state if they try to hear from a states' rights perspective as well. So it would just be funny if Adelson and his promise to spread tens of millions of dollars like so much fertilizer through Congress got him that. And of course, the analogy is interesting because I think that his position is probably relative to that as well. But on our issue, it's roughly equivalent to fertilizer. I mean, it's a funny metaphor, but I think it's true. I mean, I think that's where he comes in on.
Yeah, I just don't see how this is going to be effective of what he's trying to do. And certainly I understand that. I think he's taking a pretty high road stances as he feels, and he certainly has a right to his opinion. But obviously the boycott that tried to take place at the Venetian had zero impact, because poker players, honestly, when it comes down to it, stuff like that, they just don't seem to get into it. But I can't understand where he's really trying to end up with this, with online gaming already happening in some states, and there's just not enough gumption for anybody to say no anymore. I don't understand where it's going. So.
Yeah, and to clarify, I mean, PPA never did have a boycott of the Venetian. We've been just telling people, and I've told them myself in my weekly update that we email to the membership, that it would be wise not to play there. I certainly wouldn't play there. I wouldn't patronize any of their businesses in any fashion. But, to spend the time and effort organizing a boycott would it'd mean we wouldn't be doing the important stuff on the stuff that's actually influential. It might be a feel-good measure to go out and tell somebody we're boycotting them. But, I mean, I would, if I inform people about what we're doing and have more of an impact, if there are people are going to hear about it, and they're going to decide for themselves they wouldn't want to play there. And if that's meaningless to them, well, an official boycott wouldn't change that in any fashion. And besides, then we'd have media would be up there all the time using this as their benchmark. Everything we're doing would start off with, so what percentage drop have you seen at Venetian for their business? And starting such a thing at the beginning of December probably wouldn't be so good when they're doing reporting around New Year's or after. I mean, just from a natural standpoint of how business cycles are in Las Vegas. So that's not our focus. Our focus on what's actually going to win. We want to focus on media. If I have a player who is going to spend his time trying to do something there, I'd rather have that person writing letters to their newspaper, and when they see something appear online, to being sure to put a comment on there saying, no, I don't believe this. I believe poker should be licensed and regulated. I'd rather see them up on the politicians, sending them tweets and posting on their Facebook walls and making a lot of noise that way. And we've been pretty effective now, and I'm really seeing, some of the positive fallout from these efforts.
Yeah, of course, they're doing a great job with social media as usual, and I think it is definitely having an impact, because when politicians smell votes going away, they tend to actually listen a little bit, But I think the state efforts have got to be huge, and I can imagine right now you've got to be just railing on Pennsylvania at this point.
Yeah, they've got the bill out there now. Pennsylvania's huge. To me, it's the biggest thing out there. I mean, California's kind of ready to go. Adelson is lobbying both states against this, but outside of that, most of the discussion has been, how to do it. So Pennsylvania's more the one that hasn't decided to do it. So that's where a lot of the focus has been from the lobbying front. California, they've kind of already decided to do it. They just haven't decided how. So we've worked with some of the stakeholders and try to um, talk to them about coming together. Um, but talk about a state where everyone who wants to offer services is so busy infighting with one another for the bigger piece of the pie that they're not getting the pie in the oven, so to speak, you know. But hopefully, a little adversarial action from Adelson and his upcoming, what he's calling the Coalition to Stop Internet Gambling. Maybe they'll start bringing a little focus onto some of them, realizing might need to go forward sooner than later.
So where else are you guys focusing right now? Of course, we have this federal hearing coming up, but obviously there's a lot of states and a lot of other activities you guys are working on. What else is happening out there for you right now?
New York is looking really promising. Kind of keeping an eye on New Jersey where we can to, just in terms of the coverage that comes out to ensure we're giving them good input on where the players are, working, giving the sites whatever we can to tell them if they're having some negative experiences as players to ensure, because the more successful this is, we want these dominoes to fall across all 50 states. Like I said, New York is really looking good. If you're prioritizing, ranking in terms of what's likely to happen, New York's going to float somewhere to the top. Massachusetts is certainly always in the discussion. It's just terrific what we're seeing, of course, in Pennsylvania. In the bricks and mortar front, it was great that Maryland passed that legislation not so long ago, and already Maryland Live is just a terrific venue for the bricks and mortar game. Ohio, we're seeing some terrific poker rooms as well. So we'll be, whenever we see an initiative going forward in a state, we'll always, and if it looks like really close, we'll be able to step in and hopefully provide a few points of margin, which means a lot when these closely contested fights, with all the money flying around. The fact that one group can go in there and maybe swing at 3% if it's really good poker, as we saw in Maryland. 3 point, you could say, 3 points is nothing, but the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what people I don't think understand is, there's usually about 45% on each side, and you got to swing that middle 10 and see what happens. So, so that was obviously a huge thing that happened, and I know a lot of people have been very excited about what's been happening down in Maryland. They are raking it in down there, and certainly once again changing the landscape there in that part of the country. Certainly I think may have been what really made a final push for New Jersey to say, you know what, we better get rolling on here and get some more income coming in with the online stuff, because it's definitely been a struggle for those guys down in Atlantic City.
That's true. It's too bad they didn't reinvest in some of the properties. My wife and I were out there maybe a month and a half ago, and we had a lot of fun. It was they know the gaming stuff well, and they got the poker down, but the buildings and stuff outside of Borgata, it would be nice, if they'd reinvest a little bit in the town. And I think now they're seeing their competition geographically creep up on them as well as otherwise, and they're feeling the heat. And it's terrific. They're moving forward, on the online game. And to your point, they're seeing that, and of course, what you just said, Maryland. I just think that's wonderful. What a terrific success story that is for the folks out there. They get to play a terrific game.
And on that front, in terms of what's happening in Atlantic City, obviously PokerStars has still been shut out of there, which certainly hurts the online situation. But is Atlantic City, maybe other than one or two of those casinos, really going to be able to stay viable? And if they don't make some changes down there, it's got to be a concern.
It's a concern. My experience is very positive, though. They tend to reward people for their action at a lower level than they do in other places. You go up in these higher end strip properties and get nothing for what a poker player could get in some of these properties, especially if they added a little video poker to it. Something on the close to one of the break-even games, one of the full-pay varieties that are still available out in Atlantic City. And it seemed like some other fair gaming too. I'm not a participant in much of that, but if I were looking to maybe be able to stay the night, I think they seem to offer a fair selection to the people. So I think they have the building blocks for a lot of what they need. I don't think they're as far off as some others do, but a little renovating will go a long way.
Yeah,
say that.
Yeah, that's probably a very nice way to put it. So, well, Rich, of course, if you want to get your memberships, everything happening that you need to know is on theppa.org, and now's the time to get in there and get involved with everything happening, right?
That's right. I think it's just so important that everybody sign up. We don't, we depend on the players and on the donations and the enthusiasts as an organization. We're the community. This one is a little tougher because, we used to have just the amount of money it has taken to kind of push things forward. We're certainly always really looking for the community to support everything we're doing. Some of the stuff we've been able to do with the Department of Justice, reaching out to ensure payback for full tilt poker stake claim remission claim. People with claims for remission, such as myself, but including millions in the poker community. To have that representation has absolutely been key. These types of things, we're just not going to get without organization. So I just hope everyone listening will just send that $15 over. It's the ppa.org/join if you want to join or renew your membership, and the ppa.org for all the other information you need to know. It's super important to do, and it really makes a difference.
Absolutely. Well, Rich, hey, we'll get to talk to you probably pretty soon after we get through with this update, and you're going to have your Nevada representative get in touch with me so I can have him come down to be on the show on KLAV. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah, Lupe Soto does a terrific job in Las Vegas, all through Nevada, and she does a great job going on these various programs. So I'm sure she'd love to join you on your show. You're probably friends with her on Facebook now, but I'll reach out to her and have her give you a holler.
Okay, it sounds good. Well, Rich, thanks for coming on the show today. I appreciate it. Best of luck to John and everybody at that hearing this week, and just go to the ppa.org and you'll get all the news. So thanks again, Rich. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Mark. I appreciate the invitation on the show. Good luck with the program, and I always enjoy coming on.
All right. Thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
All right, there you go. Rich Mooney, Vice President of Player Relations for the Poker Players Alliance. Yeah, that is going to be one heck of a show coming up for that hearing. I don't know. It sounds to me like everybody's going to be better have their peacock feathers fluffed a little bit and ready to get it going. So, all right, let's take a break, and we come back. We're going to have Dr. Patricia Cardner, with, of course, co-author with Jonathan Little of Positive Poker, joining us here on the Mark Hoke Show. So stick around, everybody, and we will be right back.
One man, his lucky shirt, an unforgettable night, and a winning streak that never seemed to end. That's how Blind Squirrel began, and we haven't looked back since. We make the clothes that we want to wear for the places where we want to look and feel our best. The game, the speakeasy, and the casino floor. Blind Squirrel's small batch, high-quality gear is for people too busy grabbing life by the nuts to bother with crappy, ill-fitting clothing. Because like you, we prefer our nights long, our drinks strong, and our lucky shirt to be our most comfortable. So look good, be lucky, and visit blindsquirrelapparel.com for your new favorite shirt. As an added bonus, you'll receive 20% off your purchase with the promo code HOKE, H-O-K-E. You can also pick up Blind Squirrel apparel at the Borgata in Atlantic City and in Las Vegas at all Masura stores at Mandalay Bay, Monte Carlo, The Mirage, and MGM Grand. Look good and be lucky with Blind Squirrel apparel.
When it comes to custom poker tables, why would you buy something someone else designed and even named for their sales or marketing purposes?
The Nighthawk, the Gambler, the Big Slick, the Nuts.
Sure, you can customize it if you want, as long as you choose between black, red, or even green cloth, but that's about it. When you choose to play off tilt, it's not just another table, it's your table. The same price gets you a fully custom designed table that reflects your style and game. Off tilt makes it easy to design a truly one-of-a-kind custom poker table that'll give you home table advantage. advantage. Sure, Off Tilt could name their tables for marketing purposes, but why? It's not ours. We don't play on it. And to be honest, there are over 1,000 named Off Tilt tables worldwide, including the WSOP, the Deep Stacks Poker Tour, the Jonathan Papelbon, as well as Julie's, Chris's, Scott's, Amber's, Tristan's, just to name a few. So let us add your name to the list and deliver a truly custom-crafted, furniture-quality poker table worthy of your game. Visit www.offtiltpokertables.com or call Brian Knott today at 262-490-3812. We'll show you why Off Tilt is the only way to play.
Want to be a millionaire? Then see if you can become fantasy sports royalty in the 2013 Fantasy Football Millionaire Grand Final at DraftKings.com. Play for free or in paid contests for real money, plus games last one day, so there's no long-term commitment. Thousands of winners have won over 10 million prizes on DraftKings.com, and now it's your turn to cash in. Go to DraftKings.com right now, enter the promo code Hoke, and get a 100% deposit bonus and a free entry into the Millionaire Grand Final qualifier. So don't wait. Crown yourself the king of fantasy sports at DraftKings.com. The heat is on. Whether you're in the hot seat of a major poker tournament or just dealing with everyday life, stay cool with a brand new Arctic Blue cooling towel. Just wet your reusable and durable Arctic Blue cooling towel in cold water, and you'll have instant cooling relief at your fingertips for up to 5 hours. The towel is lightweight and pliable, so you can keep it handy no matter where you are. Plus, it's absorbent enough to make sure you and your clothes stay dry while you stay cool. No need to sweat it out, no matter what you're doing, when you have an Arctic Blue cooling towel handy. So get the same cooling towel used by professional athletes, poker players, first responders, physical therapists, U.S. automakers, and even reality TV stars. So what are you waiting for? Visit them today at arcticblu.com and pick yours up today. Plus, enter the discount code MarkHokeShow when you check out and get 15% off plus free shipping to keep some of your cold hard cash in your wallet. It's like the Arctic Blue Bear says, it's not cool to be hot. So pick up your Arctic Blue cooling towel today.
At Team Poker Joker, we build innovative, high-performance, poker-focused apparel designed to keep you cool and calm in tough situations. Wait, no we don't. We've just got a cool brand representing the suits of this beautiful game called poker. Our gear won't make you better, but it will keep a smile on your face. So don't be so serious and show you know how to have fun. Get your Poker Joker gear today at TeamPokerJoker.com. Grin and win today at TeamPokerJoker.com.
9 poker players on
Making a run at it, aren't you?
with unbelievable twists and turns that will keep you on the edge of your seat. It's the Final 9 comic from Room 110 Publishing. Go to final9comic.com to download the first issue preview and get ready for the official launch coming soon. 9.
All right, sorry about that. Little
no problem.
boob
I
on my
didn't know
part.
how long you were.
Hey, there we
on
go.
break for.
And Patricia's on the air. So, hey, we're back on the Mark Hoke Show, and we are joined by Dr. Patricia Cardner, the author of Positive Poker, a modern psychological approach to mastering your mental game. How are you?
I'm great, Mark. Thanks for having me on the show.
Not a problem. I've loaded up on cough drops real quick, so hopefully I don't sound too bad to you.
No, sounds great, actually. I was listening earlier to you talking to Rich Muni, and I thought you sounded crystal clear, and it was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, it's aside from what's going on with your book, it's quite interesting to see the behavior of politicians. You could do a whole couple of books on that too, couldn't you?
I imagine that would make for a whole series, to tell you the truth.
It is fascinating. Well, let me ask you this: in terms of your interactions in the poker world now, it's obviously a different type of person that you get to deal with, and I know that to start preparing for the book, you interviewed a lot of different poker players. What has that been like to get deeper into the poker community like this?
Well, I'll tell you, I was a poker fan and a player before I ever, did my dissertation. Now, I wouldn't say I was a super great player, but one of the things that motivated me is that I really wanted to improve my own game as well as, help others improve theirs. So when I got the opportunity to interview some of the world's greatest poker players, I mean, it was a dream come true, to be honest with you. But now I feel like I'm much deeper into the community because, that was a few years ago, and now I've played more. And, and I've been coached more and learned more. And so I wouldn't say, I'm where I want to be necessarily, but I feel like I've gotten a lot more, just embedded into the community itself.
Yes, and it's very interesting when that happens, isn't it?
It really is. I think, a lot of people on the outside looking in have a lot of misconceptions about poker players. And in general, poker players are some of the nicest, most generous, smartest people, that I've ever interacted with. In general, of course, there's always, an exception to everything. But I think the poker playing community is a great community, and I'm happy to, be a part of it and to contribute to it in whatever way I can.
So let's start getting into the book. And as you and Jonathan started putting this together, what did you find were some of the most important topics that you needed to hit on that maybe other books haven't touched?
Well, I'll tell you, what I wanted to do was to bring as much of the success literature, and by that I mean sport psychology, positive psychology, neuropsychology, and along with Jonathan, bring that to poker players, because there's a lot of research that comes out of other areas that poker players can and should be utilizing in order to improve their games. And that hasn't really been put out there as much in the poker community. We have general ideas, I think. We know we ought to set goals, for example. But does anybody really know the most efficient way to set goals, or the manner in which you can set them that will allow you the highest probability of achieving your goals? Those are the things that I haven't really seen, is more the how-to and also the why. If you get a little bit of knowledge about how your brain works, which we cover in the book, then you can also understand why the things we suggest you do will actually benefit you.
And that was a lot of the fascinating stuff that I found in the book in terms of, how the brain functions and how that all ties together. And, without getting super deep into it, just give everybody a general idea of some of the more interesting topics that you put in the book that you feel, everybody would want to know about.
Well, I'll tell you, that is a great question, Mark. One of the things, well, there's so many things I hit on in the book, but one of the things I talk a lot about is how do you actually become an elite player? Now, most everybody's heard the 10,000 hour rule, which says, it takes 10,000 hours of effort or practice to become an expert in any given domain. Well, what's really interesting is it's not a straight 10,000 hours of playing time. It's 10,000 hours of what is known as deliberate practice. And there's some very specific things that have to go on in the brain. So I don't know how detailed you want me to get for your listeners, but basically you have all these neurons in your brain, and they're connected up to each other. And some of them are very long in length. And so when a message goes down a very lengthy pathway, you can imagine it takes a long time. So when you first start playing poker or riding a bike or anything else, you're usually kind of slow and kind of awkward, and that's because your neural pathway is not built up. So by going through a process of deliberate practice, and we describe in the book how one would actually do that, you end up myelinating those neural pathways. And myelin is this fatty, insulative type substance. And basically it helps the messages flow a lot faster. So I would think that poker players probably have not heard this information before, and probably, have heard the 10,000 hour rule, and maybe even put in 10,000 hours and are wondering, hey, why am I not Phil Ivey yet?
Well, I don't know I don't know how much training can get anyone else to be as good as Phil Ivey, but we can certainly strive for it. That's for sure. And that's exactly. And that's what your book lays out. One thing that I really love about the book is you've put it into stages for everybody, because it's like a group of building blocks that you can't just hop into, getting into, for example, dealing with the ups and downs with poker if you haven't developed the mental toughness and the mastering of tilt and so many other things and self-control and so many things you talk about in the book. So it's really a very long and arduous path to get to that point where you are an elite poker player.
Absolutely. And I love the way you just mentioned self-control, because there's a whole chapter on self-control where I outline, A, the parts of the brain that are responsible for self-control, and B, all the different things that you can do to increase self-control and to replenish it when it starts to wane. Because I think a lot of people think you either have self-control or you don't. And that's actually not the truth. The truth is, self-control is much like a muscle. And you know when you use a muscle a lot, you know how it gets fatigued? Well, that's the same thing that can happen with self-control, which is why you can be playing poker for several hours and really be making good decisions and really be sharp. And then after a few hours, all of a sudden, you do something that you think is silly and you lose your whole stack.
Yeah, and there's a huge chapter on the understanding and mastering self-control in the book. But I want to ask you about this nice little 3-page section. What does a Twinkie have to do with self-control? That's awesome. I love that.
Well, I'll tell you what. The very interesting thing that we have learned recently about the brain is that it's a glucose hog. Okay, so your brain functions off glucose, and the only way it gets it is through what you ingest. Now, the interesting thing is, if your brain starts to notice that your glucose levels are dropping, it will shut off high energy functions of the brain. And as you can imagine, self-control is one of the high energy hogs in the brain, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're hungry and your glucose is low, then you can expect to see a drop in self-control.
Huh, yeah.
Now, you might think then it would be a good idea to eat a Twinkie, right? Because if you eat a Twinkie, you're definitely going to get a spike in your blood sugar. But what we've also found is that what the brain really likes is a very steady level of glucose. So if I eat that Twinkie, my blood sugar will shoot up really high, but then it'll shoot back down really fast, leading to a crash. So what the brain likes is a steady supply. And as long as it has that steady supply, it will allow the self-control centers to function at maximum capacity. If it's low, or if it senses, real up and down supply, then your self-control system gets shut down and you're likely to make poor decisions.
Right. It's kind of like if you think about driving a car. If you ride the gas, you're going to get there faster for a while, but eventually, it's going to take the wear and tear on the car. You're going to have to slam on the brakes and things just aren't going to work properly. It's much better to keep a steady pace. And, I know you talk a lot about nutrition and things like that in the book too, and exercise. And I know Jonathan's very big on that. What part does that play in terms of taking care of poker players and their long-term success?
Well, the diet, obviously, what you eat determines how your brain functions. So that's super important. The exercise is important because, A, when you exercise regularly, you actually increase your prefrontal cortex, which is that part of the brain right behind your forehead and your eyes. And that's actually where decision-making and self-control resides, is in that part of the brain. So that's excellent. Also, when you exercise, doing that is going to help with those blood sugar spikes that we talked about. Exercising, just doing it on a regular basis, increases self-control, because self-control is like a muscle. And when you do things habitually that are sort of hard to do, that increases your self-control. And I know if your listeners out there are familiar with Jonathan Little, he is one of the most self-controlled people that I know.
Yeah.
And as you just mentioned, he exercises. He's pretty fanatical about his diet. He listens to, hypnosis MP3s. He does a lot of things to work on his psychological game.
Yeah, and now another chapter that you have in there is about goal setting. And, you mentioned it off the top a little bit, but I want to get a little deeper into this because I think a lot of people, when they set a goal, they'll say, well, I want to win X amount of money, or, I want to be able to do this better, but they don't follow through on it. They don't set the goal properly. Tell everybody a little bit about the right way to set goals when you're trying to build yourself up.
Well, I think Jonathan and I really try to focus on the book about not setting monetary goals, like I want to make X amount of dollars, just because it can be very difficult with the variance and the swings in poker. And where we suggest people set their goals is around specific improvements that they can make. Let me give you an example. you might set a goal for yourself that you're going to engage in more deliberate practice. And then you have to think to yourself, okay, what would that look like? Well, a good way to do it is to make notes on the hands that you play at the table. And then after you finish the session, you review those notes and you really go over them. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to help you achieve the goal of improvement. It's also going to increase self-control. It just actually does a lot of great things for you. And it increases your expertise and your myelination. Now, how many people are actually going to set a goal and say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, each day reviewing my notes, right? Not that many people do that. They just say, I'll kind of do it when I feel like it. And then nothing happens. So you have to set a real specific goal. And I don't think it even has to be for that long. I think if you did review for 30 minutes per day and you really were 100% focused and committed to it, I think you would see improvements, probably in 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, and that is so important to be able to do that and review what you're doing and try to build. I think a lot of people, I think it's something that people shy away from when you don't like to admit your flaws sometimes, and it's very hard to get past that and realize that I'm not perfect. I don't do things well, and there's things that I have to fix, because and that's a hump that we try to get past. Not just at the poker table, but in our lives as well. I think that's one of the hardest things for people to do.
I think you're right. I mean, we have a name for that in psychology. We call it a self-serving bias. And we kind of do those things to protect our own ego. But at the end of the day, if you really want to make improvements, you kind of have to do that hard work and really look at, what you're not doing well in order to figure out how you can, fix the problem or do it better. And so it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a necessary thing to do. The other thing I would say on that is, it can be really helpful to get a poker coach who's not afraid to point out all those mistakes to you, because then you don't have to do it yourself. But, of course, you have to be open to what they're telling you.
And, of course, we're on here with Dr. Patricia Cardner, the co-author, along with Jonathan Little, of Positive Poker, which is available on dnbpoker.com. And we got some links in the chat box website on that, so make sure you pick that up. I see there's a pretty good deal on the website right now. Now, in terms of these building blocks, what do you think is the toughest one for people to get past, to get to the next step? Because there's so many different things that you really need to do to get your mind and body in the right place. Where have you found that everybody seems to hit that wall?
Gosh, that is such an interesting question, because everybody is just at such a different place. And that's why in the book we cover everything from developing expertise to the goal setting to self-control, motivation. Some people have trouble with focus and concentration, so, we cover that. We cover mastering tilt. I think, though, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to develop your mental toughness. And we included a chapter on mental toughness. And the reason I think that one is super important is because if you have mental toughness, you can learn how to do all the other things. Mental toughness allows you to stick with things. It allows you to bounce back. So to me, if you can learn how to be mentally tough, then you can do everything else.
Yeah, and Jonathan is one of the best guys at that. I mean, it is amazing how when he plays, and I've played against him, it's if something bad happens, I mean, he is just able to compartmentalize it like almost no one I've ever seen, and just move on to the next table, the next thing he's doing or whatever. It's fascinating to watch how he does that, and I'm sure he was one of the perfect guys for you to really pull that chapter together.
Oh yeah, I mean, when it comes to mental toughness, you're right about that. I mean, Jonathan is mentally tough. He knows how to compartmentalize. He knows how to keep emotions out of the game. But, I don't know how many people know this, but Jonathan is one of the hardest workers that I know as well. And, back in the day, before he was Jonathan Little, he used to study for hours every day in addition to, playing. And I think that's why he, was able to get where he's at and stay there.
Yeah, and obviously Jonathan's had his ups and downs in his career too. And if someone is trying to get to that point where they're consistently playing well at poker, but we all have our ups and downs. What are give somebody a few tips about how to bounce back when things don't go so well?
Well, I'll tell you what, the number one thing that I would suggest your listeners start doing that will help with just about everything we've talked about is meditation. And people might think, meditation, what the heck does that have to do with, playing poker? Across so many studies, meditation helps you be more resilient. It reduces stress. It increases self-control. People who meditate actually show increases in the size of their prefrontal cortex, and they show a thinning of the amygdala. And the amygdala is the part of your brain that is responsible for fight or flight. And so when you get stressed, tilty, things like that, anxious, it lights up and it causes you to freak out. Well, if you meditate, it will actually lead to the thinning out of that amygdala to a certain degree. So you will feel calmer, less stressed, and you'll have more self-control. So I think meditating or listening to, Jonathan listens to these hypnosis MP3s, but it basically is meditation, honestly. But I think that's what people could do to learn to bounce back, deal with their stress, and improve all these other things that we talk about in the book.
What are some of the best ways for poker players to release stress that are actually healthy as opposed to going out and getting hammered, for example?
Well, going out and getting hammered might be fun in the short term, but in the long run, it usually causes problems. So I would say the healthiest things for people to do would be obviously exercise. Even though people usually moan and groan when they hear that, the research is showing that you don't even have to do that much exercise to get a good stress relief. So even if you have 5 or 10 minutes of exercise will actually provide some benefit. Keeping a proper diet, there are actually foods that are calming foods. And I talk about those in the book. A lot of people don't realize that what you eat can make you feel either more calm or more stressed out. And then, of course, you can do the meditation that I was just mentioning, and that's definitely going to help you deal with anxiety, stress, tilt, depression, any of those sorts of negative things. But some people like to write, and by writing, I mean they kind of journal, maybe what happened to them in their session or their tournament, and, just writing it down kind of gets it out. And, of course, if you have real problems, you can hire a coach, or you can work with a psychologist or a counselor who specializes in sports psychology, peak performance type issues.
Yeah, I think I might have to do that. I'll be calling you soon. We'll be doing some Skype sessions, that's for sure.
That's absolutely right.
So what's been the reaction to the book since you put it out?
Well, I tell you, the reaction has been very good. I think people are getting a hold of it, and as they're reading it, they're starting to see, hey, this is information that we haven't heard before, or it hasn't been, explained in this much detail. And the book also has a lot of action steps in it, which I'm sure you noticed as you were going through it. There's parts in each chapter where we tell you, do this, do that, step 1, step 2. And so I just think it's the first time people have gotten a hold of this kind of information. And so far, the response has been quite positive.
Well, it is positive poker, so it should be, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic book, and once again, it's available on in paper form and also on audiobook at dmbpoker.com, and we have a link for it in our chat box right now. It is an unbelievable book. I love reading through this, and having gone through sports psychology and things like that and coached for 20 years, I recognize a lot of these things and say, wow, this book is right on, and got to tell everybody, wouldn't be a bad Christmas present, right?
Well, Bluff Magazine included it in their gift guide for this year. So if Bluff Magazine says it's a great gift, it must be a great gift, right?
You bet. Yeah. So when are we going to see you at the poker tables again? What are you going to be able to get out and hit any casinos, do a little promotion on this, or what?
Well, absolutely. I will be at the Lockout Circuit event in Durant in January, and I'm planning on most events in that. Come on out and bring their book. I'll certainly be happy to sign that for them. And then probably so I try and get around to as many events as I can.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there, and I'm sure we'll see you at the World Series again this year, where I got to meet you, and it was a great pleasure and an honor. And this is I think this is going to go into the poker annals as one of the go-to books for sure. So tell everybody to pick it up. And, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight and getting a chance to talk about it.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Oh, absolutely. It was a pleasure once again. And thanks for the book. I'm definitely going to use
You're
a lot
welcome.
in here. So, all right. Well, take care. And if I don't get to talk to you before then, have a great Christmas. Enjoy yourself. And we will talk again soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Mark.
You got it. Have a great night.
Bye.
All right. There you go, guys. Patricia Cardner, co-author of the
Will become one way or another. Final9comic.com.
Yeah,
and
she-
for more details,
she is not
make
the
sure
author
to
of
follow them
Final
on Twitter
9
and
Comic.
like them on Facebook
Oh,
at
goodness.
Final9Comic.
Yeah, there we go. Let's pause that. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. She's not the author of Final 9 Comics. She's the author of Positive Poker. Sorry, I interrupted the end of that ad to get her on there, and that was my bad. So sorry about that. But yeah, check the book out. Once again, go to dmbpoker.com. There's a lot of great books on there too, other than just Patricia's. So you'll be able to pick those up and have some great reads. Guarantee it. Hey, and we are almost time for the Off Tilt Poker Tables Tournament Series, event number 3. We're playing some horse tonight. So if you have not registered, club ID is 629454. Password is lock it up. One can kind of tell I'm fighting this off here. So let's take a commercial break that will be uninterrupted and done properly, and we will be right back.
Poker is more fun when you win. Most poker books are too theoretical. They tell you to be more aggressive but give few practical examples. Poker Plays You Can Use by Doug Hull, edited by Ed Miller, has 49 concepts with multiple, clear examples from real, live 1-2 through 5-10 games. Each hand is visually represented, explaining which players are vulnerable to these moves. Use discount code KLAV at 3barrelbluff.com to get 25% off your copy. Paper and ebook available.
At Team Poker Joker, we build innovative, high-performance, poker-focused apparel designed to keep you cool and calm in tough situations. Wait, no we don't. We've just got a cool brand representing the suits of this beautiful game called poker. Our gear won't make you better, but it will keep a smile on your face. So don't be so serious and show you know how to have fun. Get your Poker Joker gear today at TeamPokerJoker.com. Grin and win today at TeamPokerJoker.com.
9 poker players on a dramatic path to glory with unbelievable twists and turns that will keep you on the edge of your seat. It's the Final 9 comic from Room 110 Publishing. Go to final9comic.com to download the first issue preview and get ready for the official launch coming soon. 9 will become one way or another. Final9comic.com. And for more details, make sure to follow them on Twitter and like them on Facebook at Final9Comic.
One man, his lucky shirt, an unforgettable night, and a winning streak that never seemed to end. That's how Blind Squirrel began, and we haven't looked back since. We make the clothes that we want to wear for the places where we want to look and feel our best. The game, the speakeasy, and the casino floor. Blind Squirrel's small batch, high-quality gear is for people too busy grabbing life by the nuts to bother with crappy, ill-fitting clothing. Because like you, we prefer our nights long, our drinks strong, and our lucky shirt to be our most comfortable. So look good, be lucky, and visit BlindSquirrelApparel.com for your new favorite shirt. As an added bonus, you'll receive 20% off your purchase with the promo code HOKE, H-O-K-E. You can also pick up Blind Squirrel apparel at the Borgata in Atlantic City and in Las Vegas at all Masura stores at Mandalay Bay, Monte Carlo, The Mirage, and MGM Grand. Look good and be lucky with Blind Squirrel Apparel.
Your business and promotion will only go as far as your website will take you. That's why the Mark Hoke Show has only trusted one name for over 2 years, BlueRail.net. Whether you need custom website design and development packages or simply need a host for your website, Blue Rail is the only developer to turn to. It's time to discover the world-class personalized service only the Blue Rail team can provide. Visit us at BlueRail.net and call 520-822-5128 right now for your free consultation today. So get on board at BlueRail.net. How far do you want to go?
Last summer, I was at the World Series of Poker every day and couldn't walk 2 steps without seeing someone wearing 3Bet clothing. It's super comfortable and stylish, and all their stuff looks amazing. The incredible team of pros who wear 3Bet hats, hoodies, tees, and more are a who's who in poker. All-time greats like Jonathan Little, Doc Sands, Brian Rass, Jason Kuhn, Scott Clements, Greg Mueller, Ben Tollerine, Jeff Gross, and of course, Antonio Esfandiari, all proudly wearing the 3Bet brand. They wear 3Bet clothing because they know that being comfortable and feeling confident is crucial to winning on and off the tables. 3Bet.com has shipped thousands of orders worldwide, and it's time for you to join the 3Bet team just like the pros. Go to the number 3bet.com and receive an added bonus of 15% off with the promo code RADIO. Make that right call. Look and feel like a pro at 3bet.com.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
Can anything else go wrong with tonight's show? Oh my God. I don't know what's going on out here. Bear with me. There's going to be some more stuff sliding across your screen. You can't tell I've been doing this for a while, can you? Oh, my word. This is what happens when you get hopped up on cold medication, cough drops. You feel like crud. But I still did the show because I love you guys. You're my heroes. Hey, make sure you get in that chat box, by the way. Shum Cooley, the standings are up on the Mark Hoke Show Facebook page. And I know I had a couple questions about it. Make sure you're in the chat box. We do have a couple of prizes. We cut back on those a little bit because but there will be more to come because we have a very special announcement I'm going to be making here in a few minutes about the Mark Hoke Show. So we're looking forward to that. Excuse me. But of course, we're playing for these points tonight. Top third of the field scores, and the top 18 players will be playing in the Off Till Poker Tables Tournament Series Championship event, and the winner is going to be getting a brand new poker table from Off Till Poker Tables. And even if you don't have one, hey, insure yourself, go buy one. They only made them for the World Series of Poker, for the Mid-States Poker Tour, for Deep Stacks Poker Tour, and have shipped them all around the world. I'm going to tell you right now that when I shop for a poker table, and I have mine sitting here, and we're hopefully setting this up pretty shortly, that if you want a poker table, the best price and the highest quality, Brian Knott Off Till Poker Tables is the place to go. So go to offtillpokertables.com, put your order in, and make your friend poker player very happy. So, did I mail the book out? Probably I did not, but that's going through the source. So I'll check on that for you as soon as I can. Shum Cooley, not a problem. Hey, don't forget, if you want to call the show, it's 702-997-3049. Love to hear from you and take the burden off me talking. That would be nice, as I got to survive this thing tonight. But as you can see, we have our featured table up on the board right now. We have in seat 2, it is Straight Flush Poker. Seat 4 is Radizi. Seat 5 is JJ Corrado, J-Baller 20. Katie Stone's on the board there, but she is sitting out right now. Hopefully Katie will get in there shortly. Or maybe we might have to switch tables there. And California Lefty. Welcome, California Lefty, to the team. We appreciate it. Don't forget, of course, if you want to subscribe to our podcast, boy, I'll tell you, we have it's just like the show's everywhere right now. And sorry about the interruption there, but I had everything set, and then something went goofy on me. I'm not sure what. But if you want to join in, subscribe to our podcast, we would certainly love to have you do that. And it's real simple. You can pick it up on iTunes, as well as if you go to podbean.com, and we'll put that link in the chat box there for you. So you can go and subscribe to our podcast. We have our internet show, and we on Roguewire.com, and of course we also have the show on KLAV 12:30 a.m. that airs Wednesday at 11 Pacific. Also rebroadcast on Friday at 9 Pacific, where we are live in studio with some of the great names in poker. Whether it's Mike Manasow or the Duke of Fremont Street, we cover it all. So make sure you check that out on Podbean. It's markhokeshow.podbean.com, and of course also available on iTunes. And I think we've got to just put a new one up there a couple days ago from our KLAV show that we just had with the Duke of Fremont Street, Dan Mikulski from Pokerati and Katie Stone of the Grindettes. So pretty good one there. We also have a mobile app, and I probably haven't been doing it with everything I've been doing. I just haven't had a whole lot of time to be hyping everything that I should be. But if you want to listen to the show on your phone, well, golly, we've got that covered too. And we'll put that link in the chat box for you as well. But that is markhokeshow.podbean.com/mobile. And you can listen to the show on your phone whenever you want. So pretty neat stuff there. And, of course, some great stories on Roguewire.com all the time. So make sure you check that out as well. It's been a pretty good experience here, and something very exciting coming here shortly. So give me 1 second, and we will announce that. So tournament going on right now, and I just need to take care of some business, and we'll get back to it in just a second.